Hi people. In case you didn't know, once Anchorage has been open, there will be new ranks available for some of your spells. As you can imagine, getting the next rank of a certain ability or spell can give you a big improvement to your DPS, HPS or threat. These books are also not bound on pickup, meaning you can sell or buy them on the auction house. Some of these books are likely going to be worth several hundreds of golds, maybe 1,000 plus, just as they become available. In this video, we'll look over each class's books, how big of an improvement the next rank will be, how much the books are likely going to be worth, and what you'd want to do with them if you actually get them. To start off, some of these books are of course huge upgrades, and if possible I'd actually recommend most players to run AQ20 before AQ40 to try and obtain their books. They drop off both trashes and bosses inside the instance. Each class will get access to 3 books. When I compare the new ranks of spells, I will only look at the base damage and not take any spell or healing power into account. If rank 10 does 10% more damage than rank 9, it still won't be a 10% DPS increase for you, as the increase becomes relatively smaller once you take spell power into account. First off, we'll look at the Warrior. The Warrior gets a new rank for Battle Shout, Revenge and Heroic Strike. Rank 7 Battle Shout gives an additional 232 attack power. Meanwhile, rank 6 gives 193, a 20% increase to attack power. Rank 9 Heroic Strike does 157 extra damage, meanwhile rank 8 does 138 extra damage, a 13.7% damage increase. I however do not know how much more threat it will do. Rank 6 Revenge does 81 to 99 damage compared to 64 to 78 for rank 5, an average of 26% damage increase. The threat will also be increased, I however do not know by how much. All of these books are likely going to be very expensive, not only because they're good improvements for Warrior DPS, and Warrior DPS is probably the most common DPS, but because it will help Warrior tanks generate more threats. I can imagine any of these going for several hundreds of golds, upwards of 1,000 for the first few days. Tanks pushing more threats allows all DPS to push even harder. Next, the Priest. The Priest gets new ranks for Renew, Prayer of Healing and Greater Heal. Meanwhile good, they're not the next rank of Flash Heal or Bubble. Anyway, rank 10 Renew does 970 healing over 15 seconds for 410 mana. Rank 9 did 810 over 15 seconds for 365 mana. That's a 19.7% more healing for 12.3% more mana. Rank 5 Greater Heal does about 2.1k healing for 710 mana. Meanwhile rank 4 does about 1900 for 665 mana. 10.5% more healing for 8.4% more mana. Finally, rank 5 Prayer of Healing does about 1070 healing per party member, costing 1070 mana. Rank 4 does about 960 healing for 1030 mana. It's about 11.4% more healing for 3.8% more mana. The most useful book here is probably Renew in my opinion. Unless the tank is fully buffed, you'd probably keep it up on him over time. More rarely do you use max rank Greater Heal, and as far as I know, Prayer of Healing is really only used in Velstress and perhaps in dungeons. The books will likely cost a few hundred still, as they are still upgrades and Priest is the most popular healing class. Mages have a good time. Their books give them the next rank for Frostbolt, Firebolt and Arcane Missiles. Rank 12 Fireball does about 678 damage instantly and 76 damage over 8 seconds for 410 mana, but I suppose the dot doesn't really matter anyway. Rank 11 Fireball does 638 damage and 72 damage as a dot over 8 seconds for 395 mana. That's a 6.2% damage increase for 3.8% more mana. Rank 11 Frostbolt does 535 damage for 290 mana, while rank 10 does 457 damage for 260 mana, a 17% damage increase for 11% more mana. Rank 8 Arcane Missiles deals 230 damage per wave for a total of 5 waves for 655 mana. Meanwhile, rank 7 deals 196 damage per wave, that's still for 5 waves, for 595 mana. A 17.3% more damage for 10% more mana. The book for Fireball will likely be very expensive, many hundreds of golds and maybe even upwards to 1,000. Mages generally have a lot of gold anyway. Frostbolt will still be expensive, however not as much as the Fireball one, as most mages have gone fire by now. Even though some bosses are immune to fire in, for example, Molten Core, some guilds will at the same time likely stop raiding Molten Core altogether. But most mages are probably going to be very interested in the next rank of Frostbolt anyway. As for Arcane Missiles, they do have some situational use in PvP, and for the rare mean mage, I'm sure they will be of value. Warlocks get a new Shadowbolt rank, which is probably all they cared about. They also get a new Immolate rank and a new Corruption rank, which is also dandy. Rank 10 Shadowbolt does about 510 damage for 380 mana. Meanwhile, rank 9 did 481 damage for 370 mana. A 6% increase in damage for 2.7% more mana. Rank 8 Immolate does 279 direct damage and a 510 damage dot for 380 mana. Rank 7 did 258 direct damage and a 485 dot over 15 seconds for 370 mana. 6.2% more damage for 2.7% more mana. Rank 7 Corruption does 822 damage over 18 seconds for 340 mana. Meanwhile, rank 6 does 666 damage over 18 seconds for 290 mana. A 23.4% damage increase for 17.2% more mana. Shadowbolt will obviously be the most expensive book. Corruption probably comes second and Immolate third. Meanwhile, the books are really good. Warlocks are one of the lesser played classes, but likely the books will still go for a lot of gold. Next up, Rogues. They get the next rank for Backstab, Deadly Poison and Feint, meaning Sword Rogues have nothing to obtain in Anchorage really, at least not when it comes to books. Also, you might have a memory of a new rank for Eviscerate as well. That is true. Except it will come in phase 6 and that will drop in UBRS. Anyway, rank 9 Backstab is actually only a 15 damage increase compared to rank 8. Both cost 60 energy and does 150% of weapon damage plus a static amount. For 9 it's plus 225 damage and for 8 it's plus 210 damage. A rather small upgrade in my opinion. Still an upgrade however. Next rank of Fate probably does a bigger threat reduction, but as far as I know, rogues never use it anyway. As for Deadly Poison rank 5, it's yet again something rogues almost never use in PvE anyway. Rank 5 does 136 damage over 5 seconds per application, meanwhile rank 4 does 108 damage over 5 seconds. Actually a 26% damage increase. The poison does cost 2 more Deathweed however. Overall, rogue books are actually a bit of a disappointment in my opinion. Of course the Backstab book is an improvement, but not as much as you'd wish. It will probably go for a few hundred golds. Druid time. Druids get a new rank of Healing Touch, a new rank of Rejuvenation and Starfire. Both Healing Touch and Rejuvenation are actually pretty useful, and I'm sure Boomkins will be happy getting a new rank of Starfire. Rank 11 Healing Touch does about 2472 healing for 800 mana. Meanwhile rank 10 did 2086 healing for 720 mana. 18.5% more healing for 11% more mana. Meanwhile, you pretty much never use max rank healing touch on its own, you do use it after in Nature's Swiftness. Rank 11 Rejuvenation does 888 healing over 12 seconds for 360 mana. Rank 10 does 756 healing for 335 mana. A 16% increase in healing for 7.4% more mana. But note that Swiftman's healing is based on the healing rejuvenation or regrowth does, meaning Swiftman will also be stronger if you're using the next rank of rejuvenation. As for rank 7 Starfire, it does about 540 damage for 340 mana, compared to rank 6, which does 491 damage for 315 mana. That's 10% more damage for 7.9% more mana. Overall, I believe the Druid books will be rather cheap, as Druid is usually the least played class and often you can find everything related to Druids very cheap, such as the Cenarion BOEs. Hunters have it pretty nice. Their books give them new ranks for Multi-Shot, Serpent Sting and Aspect of the Hawk. Rank 7 Aspect of the Hawk gives plus 120 ranged attack power, meanwhile rank 6 gives plus 110 ranged attack power. A 10 attack power increase, a very minor upgrade overall. Still a upgrade however. Rank 5 Multi-Shot does 150 damage extra per missile compared to 120 for rank 4. The mana cost goes from 210 to 230. A 25% bonus damage increase for 9.5% more mana. Rank 9 Serpent Sting does 555 damage over 15 seconds for 250 mana. Rank 8 did 490 damage over 15 seconds for 230 mana. A 13.2% damage increase for 8.7% more mana. Imagine paying hundreds of gold to get 10 more ranged attack power from Aspect of the Hawk. Jokes aside, the Hunter books will likely be a bit more expensive than the Druids one, as it is a more played class and they are technically still upgrades. Moving on to the Paladins. They get new ranks for Blessing of Wisdom and Blessing of Might, and a new rank for Holy Light. More buffs for the buff spot. I actually don't know if there will be a new rank for the Greater Blessing of Wisdom and Might as well. I do hope so, however. Rank 6 Blessing of Wisdom gives 33 extra mana per 5, meanwhile rank 3 gave 30, a 10% increase. Rank 7 Blessing of Might gives 185 attack power, meanwhile rank 6 gives 155 attack power, a 19.3% increase. Rank 9 Holy Light does about 1680 healing for 660 mana, while rank 8 does 1343 healing for 580 mana. A 25% increase in healing for 13.8% more mana. I don't know how often Paladins use max rank Holy Lights, but at least the Might and Wisdom buffs are good upgrades. The Paladin books are likely the most expensive healer books overall, considering how good they are and how many people that play Holy Paladin. Most likely Paladin books will only drop for Alliance players, and Shaman books for Horde players. Speaking of Shamans, they get a new rank of Grace of Air as well as Strength of Earth. Their healing wave also gets a new max rank. Rank 3 Grace of Air gives 77 agility for 310 mana, meanwhile rank 2 gave 67 agility for 250 mana. 14.9% more agility for 24% more mana. Rank 3 Strength of Earth gives 77 strength for 275 mana. Meanwhile rank 4 gives 61 strength for 225 mana. 26.2% more strength for 22% more mana. Rank 10 Healing Wave does about 1735 healing for 620 mana. Meanwhile rank 9 does 1486 healing for 560 mana, 16.7% more healing for 10.7% more mana. Both totem upgrades are likely going to be expensive as they're actually really good and strong. Max rank healing wave can be useful if done after Nature's Swiftness. The Shaman books will likely cost more than Priest or Druid books, at least considering how good they are and how many players that play Shaman. And with that, we've gone through all the class books. Overall, I'd recommend you to weigh the value of the book compared to the upgrade it is for you. Of course you should use them on your mains, but perhaps your alt could do better with 300 more gold than with an upgraded heroic strike. But you should of course decide for yourself what you need the most. Likely the value of the books will decline over time, so if you sell your book the first week, maybe you could buy the same book back 2 weeks later with a big profit and still with an upgraded spell. Hopefully you feel like your class will be getting some good upgrades. But anyways, that was all I had for this video. Like if you enjoyed and subscribe for more. I also stream over at twitch.tv/NeceriumClouds. If you have any questions or just wanna say hi, that's probably the best place to do so. I'll be back soon with another video, and until then, see ya!